Hi, welcome back to Finally Revealed. In this episode, I want to back up a little bit on our jury playlist and our jury videos. And in response to one of the viewer questions, what exactly does the person on the jury do? What happens? Well, a jury is a group of people generally in a trial situation that are deciding a portion of a lawsuit that is brought to court. Juries are used in criminal matters where someone is charged with a crime, or a civil matter where a person, a company, or the government are against each other, where one side or the other side wants the other one to pay money or do something or stop doing something. So in any case that's brought before the court has a duty to determine what happened, and what happened are the facts. And then based upon what is found after the trial as far as what happened, they match up what happened against what the law of that place provides. So you might find that somebody did something, but when you match it up against the law, it's not enough to be a crime, or it doesn't fulfill all the requirements to make someone have to pay someone else money. So when there is a trial to the court, the judge decides everything. When there is a trial by jury, the judge decides the law part after the jury finds the facts. So as a juror, if you are impaneled as part of a jury, first of all, the practical things are you will be told where to report in the morning and what time. The time that you arrive each morning will be the same. Don't be late. They will either have you report first to a jury room and then escorted together to the courtroom, or they may have you go directly to the courtroom. You will be assigned a jury room where all of the belongings of the jurors will be kept, and that will be locked while you are then in the courtroom. The items that are left in the jury room, in addition to soft drinks, lunch, breakfast, snacks, coffee, pop, water, whatever that the court might provide or that you might bring with you, your personal belongings, your phone, your laptop, if you bring one, if you're allowed to, any reading material, your purse, things like that will be left in the jury room and locked. You will go into the courtroom on your own. Some courts will allow you to take notes. They don't all allow that. You will know at the beginning of the trial whether or not that is going to be allowed. If it is allowed, some courts will hand out the papers for you to take notes and then collect those at the end of the day so that you can't take them home with you or discuss them with the other jurors. It's really important that the jury members, while you can talk to each other during your service, not in the courtroom, but on breaks and in the jury room, you are not allowed to talk about the case because they don't want anyone to formulate an opinion until after all of the evidence has been received. So you will show up every day, you will report to your jury room. The jury coordinator or bailiff, at this point, the bailiff is one of the court personnel who will be in charge of the jury. That's the person that you will deal with. You won't be able to talk to anyone else besides each other and the bailiff. You can't talk to any of the attorneys or the judge unless you are addressed in court, which won't happen until the end of the trial. So the bailiff will be in charge of you, will escort you in and out of the jury room and in and out of the courtroom. You will be in the courtroom when there is testimony and evidence presented. You will be in the courtroom sometimes when the attorneys make objections and make arguments to the court. For any lengthy arguments that need to be on the record, so they need to make sure it is heard and recorded properly, those issues will be addressed with you out of the courtroom. So besides your morning break and your afternoon break and lunch, you will be in and out of the courtroom more often if there are a lot of evidentiary matters. So don't think about that one way or the other. That's just the way it is. If there are big breaks during lunch that are somewhat unexplained, don't worry about it. It's most likely the judge either has business with another case or ran an errand over lunch and got back late, something like that. It's not the other parties, and it's not personal. Sometimes they just forget about the rest of us and they do their other work. So don't worry about that. At the end of the day, they usually don't go past 5 or 5:30. The judge will tell you, hopefully, day to day, what time you will break and what time you will be finished. If you have medication or special dietary requirements, please make sure the bailiff knows this so you don't faint, and so that they can make sure that you have the necessary items that you might need. So once you are in the courtroom, you don't talk to anyone or each other, silence except for the judge speaking, the attorneys, or the witnesses. At the end of the trial, the judge will give you your instructions that you will take back to the jury room. On another video, I tell you how to get the evidence back to the jury room with you. So watch that. I think it's on my my number one jury, the long video that tops this playlist. So day to day, you'll go in there, sit quietly and watch it, just like you're watching on TV. You don't need to watch for anything in particular. If you are allowed to take notes, you might note expressions on people's faces, what witness said what, just to refresh your memory when you are finished so that you can reflect what you believed from what the different people said, what evidence you might want to bring back with you to the jury room to consider as a group, and things like that. But other than that, just sit back and watch this. It's not going to be as exciting as TV because we can't make speeches except for the beginning of the case and the end of the case. The attorneys will address the jury at the beginning of the case, and that is their opening statement. That is when they will just generally tell you what the case is about and what their side is going to show. They may preempt evidence and give you a preview of evidence at that time. While they may make emphatic statements, it's not an argument, it's just a statement. And then at the end of the case, when all of the evidence has been submitted, they will then make an argument. And how that will proceed is the judge will announce the instructions, and then the attorneys will argue how the evidence matches with the instruction to favor their side. So that's really important. And also at the end of the trial, you will listen because they will refer back to what they said to you at the very beginning in their statement. Sometimes they will make statements at the beginning of the case that tell you about evidence you're going to hear, and then you don't hear that. So you might think about that when you're getting to the end, and it may be of no consequence. It may be because somebody else already said it, or there was an agreement that that fact was already admitted, and so they didn't need to have someone come in front of you and say it. So at the conclusion of the case, after the final arguments have been made, you will go back to the jury room with your instructions, which are all usually in writing. Maybe some courts are advanced and they'll give you an iPad, but most often they're in writing. They will be numbered. You will sit down. You will elect a foreman, man or woman, who will run the meeting. And then you will go through the instructions, read them out loud. If you have any questions during your deliberations, the foreperson will write a note, give it to the bailiff. The bailiff will give it to the judge. You will stay in your jury room. What happens then is the judge will call the attorneys into the courtroom. They will get the court reporter there. They will read the question from the jury. The attorneys will give some input. The judge will say what the ruling is and fill out an answer, give it to the bailiff, and give it back to the jury. So that's what happens once you send out a question. When you have finished the case, either because you have reached a verdict and the documents, the instructions will tell you how many of you have to agree. And so when you're either finished because you have agreed on a verdict, or you are a hung jury, which means you could not reach a verdict in an amount of people on either side as was required, then you'll notify the bailiff. The judge will assemble everyone back in the courtroom. When they're all in the courtroom, they will bring you in last. They will put you back in the jury box. The judge will ask the foreperson, who is the foreperson? That person will stand up and say, I am the foreperson. The judge will say, have you reached a verdict? That person will say yes or no. Hand the verdict or the form to the bailiff, who gives it to the judge. The judge will look at it, then will announce what has happened, thank the jury for their service, ask the attorneys if there are any requests. The one request that we have that can be asked is to ask the court to poll the jury, which means when there has been a verdict, then the judge will call each individual juror by name and say, is this verdict that was announced your verdict? What they want to know in that, and you'll just say yes or no. What the attorneys are looking for is if it's not unanimous, or even if it is unanimous, they just want to see if everyone agrees. If it's not unanimous and you didn't vote that way, then you would just simply say no. And that just identifies who did what, who voted how. But no other questions are asked, unless after the trial is over and you've all gone home, there are other related issues. And sometimes the judge will say you can or cannot be questioned by any of the attorneys later, and then if you are questioned, you do or don't have to respond. And then you are thanked, and then you leave. If you get the case at the end of a day, they will put you in the room anyway and give you the instructions and just at least have you elect a foreperson, and then they'll let you go. They don't make you stay over all night. You are not sequestered, meaning put up in a hotel room and things, unless it's a big case with a lot of controversy and a lot of press that they think would impact your ability to just focus on the evidence. And that's the reason that happens sometimes. So this is, in a practical way, what happens when you're on a jury. You don't need to have any special knowledge. You don't have to worry about anything. Just show up and think of it as a school exercise, like when you were back in school, and just listen to the instructions. Everyone there has done this before. You will probably have people on the jury that have also done this before, and then you will serve your time. If the case settles at any point, once a trial starts, the attorneys and the parties don't have to finish it. Sometimes things play out in the courtroom, and then after hours or at lunchtime or at some point, the parties will talk and make a settlement. So sometimes you will go in and the case will start, but it will be stopped because the case has been settled. At that point, then the judge will thank you and let you go. I had a case once and we tried to get it resolved and the other side wouldn't, and we went in, we were all ready, we got everything in the courtroom, we're halfway to starting our opening statements, and we settled. So everybody went through the whole process of us seating a jury, and then we all left. So sometimes that happens. But anyway, that was a very good question. If you have any other questions, leave them for me below. It's a great source for new videos like this. If this gave you some information, if you learned something, or if it was helpful, share it with someone who may be interested. So check out the playlist. We have a lot of jury duty videos. And come back and see me next time. Thanks for watching.